Welcome to Freedom Cast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. Freedom Cast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. Welcome to Freedom Cast Podcast. So we're here with John Wooley. Am I saying that name right?
Yep, you got it.
Perfect. With Make WODs Great Again, which is essentially I describe as a meme page for CrossFitters on Instagram. And he's got quite the following. So welcome, John. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Can you give us a little bit of background about you and how you got into CrossFit?
I got drug into CrossFit like everybody else. I got tricked into it, and that's a true story. I was coaching a soccer team, and I use the term coaching really loosely because they were 5-year-old girls. You know, it's like one of those soccer teams where they go out in the field and they pick daisies and you have to yell at them and tell them to quit clumping around the ball, that sort of thing. I was coaching with this buddy of mine. We had daughters the same age, and I'd been working out at home, and I guess I'd lost a bunch of weight, or I looked fitter than maybe the last time he'd seen me. He's like, "Hey, I'm doing this new thing called CrossFit. You should come try it." And I was doing P90X at the time. And in my mind, I was at the pinnacle of fitness. This was the fittest you could ever be. I'd done 90 days of P90X. So of course I was the fittest man on the planet. And I'm like, is it hard? Because P90X is like the hardest thing ever. He's like, dude, it's like P90X on steroids, which in hindsight is a really ironic statement when you think of it. But, but I'm like, all right, well, I'll go try it. And so I show up on a Saturday morning, and I did what you're supposed to before workout. I didn't eat a thing. I went in there totally on an empty stomach. I'd probably been drinking the night before. And oh my God, I got destroyed. It was the worst workout of it's still to this day, it's the worst workout of my life. It was horrible. At some point, the coach is yelling at me, "Don't go home." Like I'm just standing at the door heaving. And yeah, it was terrible. And I'm stubborn. So I'm like, all right, where do I sign up? And I signed up and I went back the next Monday, and I've been doing it now for almost 11 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
When did the meme page officially start?
That was about 3 years ago. Also a fluke. But yeah, about 3 years ago.
Okay. What was the impetus?
Well, so it was weird. I had these coaches. I've only had coaches that are games athletes. I'm like the Forrest Gump of CrossFit. Like every coach I've ever had has made it to the CrossFit games, and they've all been really good, by the way. It's not like these are just team athletes. These are like, Scott Panchek and his brothers and, that whole crew.
Nice.
And so like everyone I've been around, I just thought these were just normal humans, And so anyway, I created it after Trump won the presidency. I thought it would be funny to start a Twitter handle called CrossFit Trump, so I could troll my coaches and not tell them I was running it, with the concept being that, Trump was notorious for doing horrible tweets, tweets that were just bombastic and just would say terrible things. And I wasn't doing a political page. It was a spoof on him. And so imagine, saying something that Trump would say, but make it all about CrossFit. Like, oh, I did I'm the best at CrossFit. Everyone says I am. I got these huge hands, things like that. And so I did it to troll my coaches. And my daughter came to me. We were driving somewhere, and she's like, "Hey, Daddy, you're really funny, but Twitter's not the thing. You need a meme page, and you should put it on Instagram." I'm like, "All right, I'm game." And so she created it for me, created the page. We called it CrossFit Trump, and it did nothing for about 6 months. And then, it just started taking off. And from the time it started taking off, in about 6 months time, it went from about 300 followers to about 10,000 followers. Whoa. And that's when I changed the name. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to get sued, like either by CrossFit or Trump or both. Like someone's going to sue me. And I just certainly didn't want it to be Trump. I worried about him more than CrossFit.
Yep.
And so I changed the name. but I wanted to keep the spirit of, like I said, so many people following already. I'm like, I want to keep the spirit of the name, not, again, not political, but I thought it would be funny, so I brainstormed for a while, like, what's the one word that's synonymous with CrossFit without saying CrossFit? Like, if you had to tell someone you were a CrossFitter without telling them you're a CrossFitter and you need something that wasn't trademark, WODs was the word. Every CrossFitter, it's either box or WODs. Those are the two words that are synonymous with the sport. And so make WODs great again, just, it kind of rolled off the tongue. It just made sense because, the workouts are terrible. So if you can make them great again, it's funny. Like, just the thought of it's funny, and so that's what happened. And I thought the page would die. I'm like, all right, I'll change the name. It'll die. No one will follow. And I went from 10,000 to 100,000 in about 6 months. And then from 100,000 to 200,000 in about another 8 months.
Lord.
And it just, I don't know, it just never slowed down.
So ridiculous. Was that on the back of memes, videos, certain things that just went viral, people retweeting? Like, what was the deal?
Well, it's kind of all over the board. I mean, like, I've always viewed social media as it's social media. You should be connecting with people. So, I never used it as a tool just to make fun of people. Like, it's a lot of different things. It's satire, it's memes, it's spoofs, it's community involvement. I do a lot of charity work. I do a lot of give back to the community. I would post news. I would uncover news because people would send me stuff.
Nice.
It was like just a community page more than anything else to me that was funny. Right. And then I also started my own podcast about, I want to say I was probably at about 30, no, is that right? 70,000 followers. Jillian Michaels did a post slamming CrossFit. And I went all in on her. Like, I'm one of those people, I have this theory. I know I'm talking a lot here. It's a long answer. I have this theory that, I can pick on my sister, but you can't pick on my sister. Right. I feel the same way about CrossFit. I can make fun of CrossFit, but if you do it, God save you, we're going to throw hands. Right. So I just went off on this woman and people loved it. Well, and, it was getting, tons of likes and comments and, people are just loving it. And I'm picking up followers. And then I get this DM from CrossFit Health, the actual page. And it says, Coach Glassman wants to talk to you, call this number. And I'm like, oh shit, I just get called to the principal's office.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a joke. Within seconds, I get an email to my actual email address that says, Coach Glassman wants to talk to you. Please call this number. And it was also from a CrossFit.com email address. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm about to get sued, So I'm sitting there with at the time she was 15, my 15-year-old daughter. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And she, like, as only a 15-year-old can do, she's like, what do you mean? What do you do? You call the number, idiot. Like, go call him. So I go call the number and they answer and they go, oh yeah, Greg's right here. Hold on. And within seconds on a Sunday afternoon, I'm talking to Greg Glassman.
Wow.
And he thanks me for the memes. He's like, hey, your memes are really funny. We really appreciate you defending CrossFit. We feel like this was put up, Jillian Michaels put this up because she works for Coke. And, he was always kind of a conspiracy theorist. So he's, going on and on about how she's a Coke shill and blah, 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 blah. And he says a bunch of crazy stuff to me. And, but what he said to me, it wasn't crazy. He's like, hey, you've got my number. If you ever need anything, let me know.
Wow.
And so about a week later, I'm talking to my coaches about it at the gym, which are, Saxon and Spencer Panchek at that point. And I'm like, you guys think I should call him? And they're like, yeah, you should have him on, we've been talking about doing a podcast, or I had, and they're like, yeah, you should ask him to be on the podcast. Now, keep in mind, at the time, they're like 22 years old. Again, young kids that don't know how the world works. And I'm like, okay, like a dumbass. And so I message him and he's like, can you be here Wednesday? And I'm like, sure. And so 4 days later, I'm on a flight to Santa Cruz to meet Glassman for a podcast. That's how I launched my podcast. And so that's an example of like how the page like just kind of caught fire. And it was just one thing after another for a long period of time. It's crazy, dude. Like, it's really, really, it's been a fun ride, but it's been a crazy ride.
Yeah. Cause I mean, there are other meme pages. There's, Chalk Lamas, obviously, and there's a couple others that are not coming to mind right now that don't even have near close to the following that you have. It seems like you've just connected yourself directly into the CrossFit community in a way that's unique to, well, John Wooley, obviously, but
Yeah, I think they all have a different philosophy of this than and that's fine. Like, and
yeah.
none of that's the slam on any of them.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
most of them I know. It's just like, my thought is that if this was going to be a thing, if people were going to follow, it needed to be bigger than a meme page, because meme pages are funny, but they don't really give you anything other than a momentary laugh and then you move on. And so my thought is like, well, if I could use it to raise money for charity, if I could use it to highlight special events within the community that maybe aren't getting coverage that they need to get, like an example, that would be the adaptive division. I'm doing a big campaign for them right now.
Nice.
If it could be something viewed more than just a meme page, and it needed to be viewed as my life, because these memes are my life. Like when I'm doing memes about people doing stupid things in the gym, those people are me. Like I'm the one doing stupid things in the gym.
Yep.
Right. And so, yeah, I figure if it's going to be the story of my life and I'm going to put it out there, then I'm going to do more than just memes. And I think that's what caught on. And, people understanding this isn't just some guy here making jokes. When something happens, I'm going to have an opinion on it. And I'm going to share about it. And I'm going to weigh in and be a part of the community, and hopefully make that a positive part of the community. I know everyone doesn't view it that way, but I do.
Sure. With as much stuff as you're doing, this sounds like your full-time job, is it?
God, no. No, I'm a regional vice president for a bank. I run 16 locations on the east side of Cleveland. I've got 85 employees. Yeah, that's my real job. So I'm managing people. I mean, more than anything else, but it's, it's also a lot of money. I've been in banking now for 30 years or so, and I've been with the firm I'm with now for about 7 or 8. Okay.
Gotcha. So how the heck do you manage? You've got 3 podcasts, a meme page, you're doing all this charity work. Like how?
Well, you get really good at organizing your time. Google Calendar is a good example of that, and really making sure you're carving out free time. I try to ignore my kids as much as I can. I have very little life. I don't do a lot outside of CrossFit stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's like anything else. You figure out how to prioritize your time and get things done, and you cut the things out that are wasteful, so I probably don't get as much TV time as I'd like, or as much time on my PS5 or playing guitar or all my other hobbies. But, you just have to find the things you love and go do them. And so I just organize that time appropriately. I'm very fortunate that my job is kind of remote. Okay. And, I don't work out of a single office. I get to travel around a lot. So that allows a lot of flexibility in scheduling and where I'm going to be and how I can get things done. And, I can work from home some, not a lot, but some. And, so those things certainly help.
Nice. With the travel, are you able to also, are you filming podcasts at the same time that you're also able to do business travel, or is it mostly remote now?
Well, it depends on my business. My travel for work is all local. So, it's 5 days a week, but sometimes, I try not to mix the two. Like, it's hard for me to go on a business trip and drop in on a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
Like I try to, whatever I'm doing, I try to be my best at it. So when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm doing CrossFit stuff, I'm doing CrossFit stuff. They know I do it. I don't share too much with them because I'm not sure how much I want them to know, but it's not a secret either. It's like, I want to be successful at everything I do. So I don't want them to think I'm investing too much time in CrossFit. So there's a kind of a weird dynamic at play there, I guess, to some degree, but really you just have to find the time, you make the time. I get up early. I create most of my content between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m.
Wow.
And I don't really create anything after that. And as things come up during the day, I might get ideas and I might create something midday. But, like today, I was on conference calls all day long today. I didn't do any CrossFit stuff other than answer a few DMs here and there. Just got to prioritize.
Yep. I want to talk CrossFit a little bit because you're deep into that and the Castro controversy that's gone on recently. Can you, just for audience background, and I'm honest, so I did CrossFit for years, but I was never deep into the politics part of it or the leadership part of it. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened with Castro and what's going on now with CrossFit leadership?
I'm not sure how much I know. I mean, I don't know a ton more than everyone else, although we're all talking about it. I mean, a year ago, Glassman sold the company.
Yeah.
under fire, is how he sold it. Like he made a bad tweet and then he escalated it by saying some bad things, and they ran a Zoom call and he said some even worse things. And when that happens, when people in power do something stupid, people that they have, I'm going to say allegedly, this is all second, third hand, but if you've done things or even been perceived to have done things to people, then they all start coming out of the woodwork. And they did. And they're saying all the horrible things that Greg had done to them over the years. And for the record, Greg was nothing but nice to me. So, but keep in mind, I'm a basic white guy too. So, I just, I mean, I'm a 50-year-old white man. Like, what's he going to do to me? When all the allegations and everything came down, he ended up selling the company. And, I can't blame him. He got a lot of money for it. Yeah. And he sold it to Eric Rosa and this partnership group and, investors, Berkshire, whoever it was.
Okay.
And they've been running it for the last year. And they didn't really change a lot of leadership. They changed some, but not a lot. And including they kept Dave Castro, who was the head of the CrossFit Games, the director of the CrossFit Games.
Okay.
And then they fired him. They fired Castro this week. Now, Castro's been involved in CrossFit from almost day one. Like the original games, took place on his family's ranch. So like he is as ingrained in the games as he is the games. He created the games. Yeah. So you're firing the creator of the games. That's the real gist of why there's so much drama around it. And for all of his, he has a lot of things about him that are weird for a guy in his leadership position. Like he's really touchy and thin skinned and that sort of thing, but he's loved. He's also a good leader and he's really good at his job. And so a lot of the community really loves this dude. And so, you got half the community raising hell that he got fired and half happy that he's gone. And, and it's like anything else in today's day and age. I think, somebody got fired and everybody thinks they're entitled to know why. And they're not. No one's entitled to know why, but the person who got fired and the person who fired him, but it's, this is a community. I said this on my own show last night. This is a community that at its heart and soul has hundreds of thousands of text groups, and we are just all text each other every day. Hey, what was your workout time today? How much weight did you lift? What time are you going in tomorrow? What are you doing? And we're all really, really connected to each other. And when something like this happens, it feels like a family member died, and it's tough. And trying to get that as a corporation like CrossFit, trying to get that message out to, millions of CrossFitters that have all these text streams, it gets messy real quick, so it's been a little bit of drama, but they'll move past it. They moved past the last one. It's not to say that there won't be people that always miss Dave, because they will, but this is a community that's just filled with brilliant people. There's so many brilliant people in it. Like, I can't believe they can't find somebody to program 20 to 30 workouts for the games and the open. Like, they're going to get it covered just fine.
Sure. Yeah, I thought he had said something or tweeted something and that's why they had fired him. But then I looked at the actual statement that CrossFit released and it was just like, it wasn't working out. Period.
No, it wasn't one thing. I mean, look, Dave is notoriously, I don't have the right word for this. I was going to say aggressive, but that's not the right word. Well, let me put it this way. He blocked me for nothing. Like,
Gotcha.
This is a guy that like, he blocks everybody. You look at him cross-eyed on social media and he blocks you.
Yeah.
And if you give him a tough question in front of a crowd, he won't answer it.
Okay.
And, he's notoriously, just very direct in what he wants done. And that's probably fine in the old CrossFit. It's a tough sport. You put it in a new corporate environment where you're trying to grow this thing on 7 continents and grow the business by 25 to 50%. And you have shareholders and people expecting to earn money on their investment. Not so much. Like to have, so you even want this guy sitting in the boardroom telling the CEO to go screw himself, because that's what's going to happen eventually when you leave someone like that in charge.
Right.
The real crime here, when it's all said and done, is that, CrossFit made a crucial mistake at the very beginning by keeping him. When Glassman stepped down, he named Dave CEO. So Dave was technically CEO when the company got bought. And their big mistake was they should have just eliminated him then, because you don't keep entrenched management.
Right.
And they did. And, I respect the fact that they thought, hey, maybe we can make this work. This guy's got a lot of history, he created the games, people love him. Let's make it work. But I think they all knew then it wasn't going to work. They wanted to give it a chance. And what I'd love to see the CrossFit community come to realize is like, hey, they gave the guy a year, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Like they could have cut him loose on day one, but they gave him a chance to prove that he could be a corporate team player. And he isn't. Doesn't make him a bad person. It just means he doesn't work well in corporations. He was a great Navy SEAL. That's not the same experience.
Yep.
It isn't the same experience. Like working on a team of Navy SEALs is different. You're training to kill people. In the corporation, you're not doing that.
Right.
Well, I mean, my corporation does that. I can't speak for others, but mine does.
So I have mixed feelings about the popularity of CrossFit. I saw a post that you made recently that said, they had 1,400 more affiliates last year, which was a 10% growth in a depressive period, recessionary period, compared to plenty of other industries that were suffering like crazy. But my impression, especially in the home gym community, is that the popularity of CrossFit is flagging. And I don't know if that's fairly recent or what it is, just statistically. Are you seeing the same thing, or do you think CrossFit is like more popular than ever?
I think it's going to be more popular than ever. I mean, first of all, the math of that's a little wonky, and admittedly, that's my fault.
Okay.
At its height, and these are not exact numbers, and I'm getting them from Morning Chalk Up. So it's not like I pulled this off of, a major news source. No offense, Justin and your team, but anyway, at their height, they had like 11,700 paying affiliates. Now they had closer to 15,000 affiliates, but 2,000 to 3,000 of those were non-paying, like charitable groups, jails, schools, hospitals. Like, Greg would, do that pretty routinely.
Okay.
When this new group took over, if I'm remembering the math right, they had 90, at the beginning of 2021, they had 9,400 affiliates, maybe 9,600, something like that.
Okay.
Low 9,000s, right? So between the period of Greg blowing it up and this new group buying it, they lost a pretty significant number of affiliates. And keep in mind, a pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So there's a natural runoff of affiliates. Like these things aren't built to make millions of dollars. They're built to make dozens of dollars. And a pandemic crushed a significant portion of this business. So really their starting point was about, 9,400, 9,600, whatever. And then they grew 1,400 last year in the middle of this pandemic. Keep in mind, that's a net number. So not gross. You've got businesses closing during that time still.
Wow.
So they actually grew, I'm estimating, I'm doing, kind of banker math in my head. That's around 15%, 14.5, 15%.
Yep.
And it only puts them 1,000 or so off the high water mark. There's no way they won't beat that number next year. And, they're looking at 4 different emerging markets as it stands now. Yeah. Keep in mind, like 70% of these affiliates are in the continental US. What they're looking at is China, Russia, India, and Japan. And I don't know if you've looked at the population of those 4 countries.
Yeah.
These are not small countries, right? And, you got to keep in mind, if you've got of these, we'll just call it 9,000 to make it easy math. If you've got 9,000 affiliates and 70% of them sit in the US, right? So you've got, we'll call that 6,500 to 7,000 affiliates in the US. We only have 345 million people here.
Yeah.
You got billions between India and China alone.
Yep.
You throw in Japan and Russia and you go, all right, well, if you can get 7,000 in the US, how many can you get in China? How many can you get in Russia? How many can you get in India? And so, and that's not even counting Europe, so this is a business that is primed to grow.
Yeah.
And I think, we also have to think outside of, pardon the pun, but you got to think outside of the box. Like there's also a company that I will bet you any amount of money. And I'm confident they're already working on some at-home options, where they'll be delivering programming to people in their home gyms. And so this won't just be CrossFitters going into, gyms in, the local community. This is going to be the Peloton of fitness, of functional fitness,
Yeah.
And, try to provide the same, kind of level of experience where you can go to a gym and do it, or you can do it at home, do it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I didn't think about that because with the international reach, I mean, you don't have to grow it in the United States. You can just go to any other country and continue to grow the brand. So,
Yeah, the foreign gyms are fanatics. Like
oh, really?
You think the
Wow.
CrossFitters in the US are ridiculous. Like these European CrossFitters, man, and Australian, and they're all over the world. And they're great and they do all the same dumb shit we do, all of them. It's ridiculous. It's amazing how similar we all are.
Mhm.
But they're fanatical and they just want to work out like the rest of us, but they love the sport. And I genuinely believe like you really open these things up where they're getting the support they need. It's a perfect business for them. The cost of entry to own one of these things is damn near free,
Mhm.
so why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, on that topic, this is something I have asked people before. What's your opinion on that, right? Because the barrier is so low to entry. And you've got memes for days about form issues and people doing Olympic lifts have only lifted a handful of times. Like, do you think that it's nice for the popularity of the sport, obviously, but the quality of coaching, considering you only have to get an L1 certification to open a box,
Yep.
like do you have a stance on that or?
Oh yeah, I think it's great. I'm all
Okay.
in. I have zero problems with barrier entry. I think it's a snobbish attitude to say it's horrible that they should be in here doing it. Have I seen people make horrible Olympic lifts? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've seen people doing horrible Olympic lifts under the instruction of coaches.
Yeah.
And what I would tell you is I would prefer to get the masses into gyms and get them moving and active than saying, oh, no, 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 no. You can only train under an Olympic lifting coach or you're not doing it right. And how dare you, like, no,
Yeah.
no. You want to be an Olympic lifter? Go do Olympic lifting.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing, it's not the same thing. What we're doing is not the same as what Olympic lifters do. I realize some, form is weird, but it's not like the early days of CrossFit. The early days of CrossFit was crazy. And I will fully admit the first 5 years I did CrossFit, like it was like the Wild West, dude. Like I saw some really dumb stuff that should have never happened in a gym. Gyms aren't like that now. Like the level one coaches coming in aren't just random kids off the street getting their level one.
Mm.
You may have some of those, but they're training under the tutelage of people who have been doing this now for 10 years and have far more than just a level one.
Yeah.
And that's, all over the place. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that there's a low barrier of entry to open the gyms and to get in. And it's, I say low barrier entry, the affiliate fee is low. I mean, you sell equipment, dude. You got a fully outfitted gym. You're going to do it for less than 50 grand. Pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the barrier of entry is actually $3,000 for the affiliate fee per year. And then you got to spend $50,000 to $100,000 to build out your gym.
Right.
Just to get started.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you charge, but I've been in a lot of gyms. Yep. So yeah, I think most of them that are being open, have the needed experience. And these days, what is different now from then is that CrossFit offers affiliate programming and it comes with demonstrations and videos and warm-ups and they walk you through the coaching and it's very, very detailed and organized and allows you the opportunity to really understand what should be happening. So that perception of bad coaching and bad form, that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago. The average gym is not like that these days.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, CrossFit's done more for, and I have a huge bias towards resistance training because I'm a power lifter by nature now, but it's done more for resistance training than I think any other sport, honestly. And like you said, like getting people up and moving, great. Whether or not like you said, the knock years ago was you've got these coaches that don't seem to be investing any real time and effort on the Olympic lifts, but if CrossFit's doing it for time, you're doing it at light rep, the chance of injury, I would imagine, is probably pretty low and continues to go down, especially as you get more experience.
Well, look, the science behind it will tell you the injury rate in CrossFit is no worse than powerlifting, is no worse than bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, I've trained next to powerlifters for a long period of time. And let me tell you how it goes. We go out for a 400-meter run. I finish 2 minutes before them. They come in huffing and puffing. And then we go to do deadlifts and they lift 600 pounds and I lift my measly little weight and feel like an idiot, like That's the difference in the sport. But the difference is like when that guy comes in, he's limping because his knees are broken.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that. But then my back hurts trying to do the heavy deadlift. Like we just have different body types and different things we're focused on, and there's injuries in anytime you're aggressively going after a sport, there's going to be an injury potential, but I don't think the risk of injury in CrossFit is worse than any of those other sports you named. And I think, we could probably make a sound argument that a lot of people are doing powerlifting. Again, I don't have the science behind this. Maybe you can tell me, are they out there seeking powerlifting coaches, like all of them, or many of them just getting a book and going in and going, I can deadlift, let's go. Like
there's a lot of meatheads. There's still a lot of meatheads. And that sport's even getting more popular now. So like people do some really dumb stuff,
look, big dudes that can move some weight because mass moves mass. I'm a power lifter. No, you're just fat. You're not a power lifter. You're just fat. I'm right. Come on. I'm right. And I'm not making fun of power lifters because God bless them, man. Like they had the strongman contest at the Rogue Invitational while we were down there. Talk about an impressive bunch. Like those dudes, first of all, built like houses.
Yes, they
are. I've never seen anybody that big. And strongest men in the world. Like God bless how hard they work and how much they have to eat to do that. But there are a lot of power lifters that are not strong. They're just fat, and mass moves mass. Like just the way it works.
Yep. No, I'm totally with you. Curious, what are some of your favorite CrossFit fails that you've just talking about, like bad form and all that, but favorite CrossFit fails you've seen from people who are either just starting out or whatever, just doing CrossFit?
Well, look, we all do the same dumb stuff. People send me fails all the time. It's inevitably the first fail people have are box jump fails. They always underestimate what that thing's going to do. So if you haven't had bloody shins within the first 3 or 4 months of CrossFit and you're just not doing it right, and then typically bloody hands from pull-ups because they also do those wrong.
Oh yeah.
So that's usually where people start having fails. They usually don't have the big fails like missing snatches and muscle ups until, much farther along, but those happen too. It's funny that's your question, because my second podcast, Scale and Bail, is completely designed to keep people from doing that. Like I created it because I was like, I spent the first 5 years of my CrossFit career hurting myself and doing dumb shit all the time. I'm like, if only I had someone to tell me what not to do. And so I had this friend who owns Ben Zawalski. He owns a company called WOD Prep, and they do online coaching, and he's really popular and he's really good at it. And I'm like, hey, I need an actual coach, someone who's licensed that can do this with me, and so that's what we do. We just talk to people about what not to do in the gym. I'm like, look, and here's the advice I usually give them. In the first year, don't go buy a weight belt. Don't go buy wrist wraps. Don't go buy special shoes. Don't buy all those toys. You need to get strong. You need to do strict movements. You need to learn good form. Don't go spend thousands of dollars on all these gimmicks. Like you need to build muscle, and nobody told me that. I was just like, oh, I should learn to kip. That sounds like a good idea. Oh, my shoulder doesn't work anymore. That's weird. It's just, I don't know. I wish I'd had somebody to do that. So that's why we do it. So that's, when it comes to fails, like I'm actually kind of passionate about that, because I think early on CrossFitters get so caught up in how much fun it is in the community that they're willing to try anything, even if they try it before they're ready. And that's really, for me, that's the thing you have to watch out for. It's like, make sure you're ready for it. You gotta have some strict strength, gotta have some smarts, know what your body's capable of, but you do need to push yourself and try some things that you haven't done before,
Yep. Is that the biggest mistake you see when people are first getting into CrossFit, is just not building up good base?
That's certainly one of them. I think, the first mistake people make is they're like, oh, I can go buy some magic shoes. And they go buy like 6 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
I'm like, now don't get me wrong. I own a boatload of shoes. So it make you feel good, but it won't make you faster. It won't make you more fit.
Right.
For me, it's always strict strength first. Learn to do pull-ups, push-ups, handstand push-ups, anything that requires a kip later, you should be doing strict now, even if it makes you feel like you're way behind everybody else in the group. And when it comes to strict strength, focus on back squat, front squat, deadlift.
Yeah.
Like if you can build that base And I also tell people learn double unders because jump rope's great. I don't care what sport you do. Like jumping rope is great for you. And it's a good way to kind of get into the workouts. If you can really focus on those things, I think you can master CrossFit pretty, relatively quickly, and you'll build strength. The other thing you got to do is you have to fix your nutrition. You got to get some sleep. Like none of this works without sleep and nutrition, because I don't care what sport you're in, except maybe powerlifting. You have to eat right, and you have to get plenty of sleep, and so that's what I tell them all. Like, it's pretty simple, but people don't want to believe it. They just think they can just go in and outwork it, and that's not the case.
Nutrition and sleep is an unbelievably underrated part. It's like 90% of the game, right? I mean, the 10% is what you do in the gym. So
we say this all the time. I bet I've said this a million times. Every time you skip sleep to go work out, you're like stepping over $100 bills to pick up nickels. Like, it's just dumb. It's so dumb. Like, I would rather take a nap than go work out. And I work out a lot. It doesn't show, but I do. But I also try to get as much rest as I can. I really focus on it. I'm not great at sleeping, but I focus on it because I know it's important. And particularly as you get older, I mean, I'm 51. So, it's even harder to recover at my age than it is for others. So
sure. I want to talk a little bit about memes because we haven't quite touched on that yet, but what has been one of the favorite meme you've ever made? And then second question is, what is the one that's blown up the most for you?
Oh, that's a hard question because, they all blow up for different reasons. Like during the CrossFit Open, I literally could meme anything and it'll blow up. Like,
okay.
It's not that it's particularly funny during that time. It's just like people are watching,
Right.
For me, the ones that are funny are something that really tells a story. You have to have a funny picture and the caption has to match, but it needs to be relatable. Probably the funniest one I ever did. There's a Key and my favorite is a Key and Peele skit. Which is I don't know did you ever follow them?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I love them so much.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Chappelle, and I love these guys too. And they have this skit where one of them is playing Obama, and he's walking through a crowd, and every time he sees a white person, he goes, "Oh, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you." And he's like real proper. And when he meets someone who's African American, he's like, "What's up, my brother?" And they're like slapping hands and hugging and doing all this stuff, and it's really funny, and I put captions over every one. And so over every white person, I put something that you hate in the gym, like mobility, proper nutrition, assault bike. And over all the African Americans, I put things you love in the gym, like booty shorts and shoes and stuff like that, and it took off. Like, people love that one. It's one of those like kind of times where people can really relate, because you see all the things you love and you see all the things you hate. And you're like, yeah, that reads. And then you see the visual of it and you're like, oh man, it's like the perfect combo. The one that probably blew up, that has blown up the most in the last year, a follower sent it to me. It's somebody actually in the gym. And these are the ones I love, when it's something actually happening. And this guy doing burpees, and it's literally the slowest burpees you've seen in your life. Like, he is dying. He is like seconds from death. And I just titled it Grief Burpees, because that's what it looked like. Like, he was in utter grief from having to do another burpee. He'd go down and he stands up and he pauses and he like slightly jumps and slaps his hands together. And it's hysterical. It is like the funniest thing I've ever seen. I've posted that thing half a dozen times, and every time I post it, it gets 20,000 likes, and people just go crazy over it. It's just so funny, and God bless them. Like, I love the dude for sending it to me, because it's really, we've all been there. Like, I don't know if for anyone that's ever done a burpee, you've had a grief burpee moment where you didn't want to either get off the ground or go back down there, and that's what it looks like. It's the best, absolutely the best.
Oh man. Oh, I am curious, just from a technical standpoint, as an aside, like, how are you making most of these? Are you just app on your phone, putting them together? Are you actually going on your computer and cutting stuff?
Literally everything's on my phone.
Nice.
Everything. I have an iPhone and a couple of apps, and I've just gotten really, really good at Photoshop and cropping videos and, dropping them into the app. And, it's like anything else. Like, I laugh sometimes because I've gotten really fast at doing it. And, people are like, how'd you do that so fast? I'm like, it's like anything else. If you put a lot of practice into something, you get good at it. If I had practice on snatching, I'd probably be lifting a lot of weight instead of doing memes, so.
Fair. That's fair. Is that your account on TikTok that I see, or is that somebody else that's created your
No,
name?
I trademarked the name. So I went onto all the sites and created, uh, created, my name, or put my name in there. I don't
Okay.
really use TikTok. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Those two are my biggest platforms for actual followers. And I'm also on Twitter, which I'm an active user there.
Hmm.
So I use those three. I'll post a TikTok just to keep it active.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not doing dances, and that's not my thing. I'm not an actor. Like, that's the difference. Like, I don't know if you follow Fluffy Duck. He's a friend, Josh, who runs that page. He's really funny. And he was kind of one of the OGs in the meme space.
Mhm.
And he transitioned over to TikTok, and he's really popular on TikTok because he's really good at making videos
Yeah.
and doing skits and like kind of comedy. I'm not a comic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just a guy. I'm just this old banker who does CrossFit, and I have a good sense of humor, and I have observational humor. I see things, and I know what people will relate to.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work on TikTok. Like, I'm not doing a dance. I'm not doing a skit. I'm not doing those stupid voiceovers. And no, I want nothing to do with that.
Would
So
you say they're more like Seinfeld to the CrossFit community?
it maybe, I guess that's possible.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, I was just curious because I saw you posted a few things on TikTok. TikTok's an amazing platform, but also really frustrating for certain creators because, like you said, it's really hard to get content going on there if you're not, front and center in the camera. I suppose you could post every single piece of video content you have on there, but like you're already killing it on Instagram, so why?
I've considered it. Look, between everything else, it's like I want to do something that not only is a value to the community, but it has to be a value to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this for popularity.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe the difference between me and some of the others. Like, if this went away tomorrow, if all of it shut down tomorrow, dude, I'm happy as a clam.
Yeah.
I've made friends all over the world. It's been a fun ride. It's not my life. I have 2 daughters. I have a great job. I love where I live. I got a great family. I don't need any of this. Like, I can walk away tomorrow and be perfectly content. No, I'm not walking away tomorrow. I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm doing it for me. Like, I'm creating content for me, not for everyone else. And so I don't need TikTok. If something comes along that I think, all right, I could do that, then yeah, I might jump into something else. And,
Sure.
But not for now.
What do you think it is about Instagram specifically that has just made that page so popular? I mean, obviously you keep mentioning the community aspect, but like Instagram, it seems is just right for what you're doing. Is it your? I think you alluded to this a little bit. Is like it sounds like it's just your ability to connect to other CrossFitters and DM back and forth and just talk with people.
I think people like a view into other people's lives. And so I think they use Instagram for that. Instagram is a fake place.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is everyone's life looks perfect.
Yes. That's fair.
And so what I try to do with it is create a relatable space. When I post something, I want someone to see themselves in that post, even though that post is about me, usually.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always about me, but it usually is about me, And my philosophy has always been, look, if it's happened to me, it's absolutely going to happen to you at some point. And I can't tell you how often I see in the comments, people are like, oh, they're tagging their friends going, oh my God, Sarah, this is so you, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And so I think that observational, type of humor really, people really like it because, they see it on a daily basis. They know they can share it with their friends. It's a moment that they can connect with others outside of their home or work or whatever. It's like a momentary escape. And so I think that's partly why it's worked so well.
Mm-hmm.
The downside to it is a momentary escape.
Mm-hmm.
People don't spend a lot of time there. Like, if this were YouTube, people that follow you on YouTube are fanatics. The people that follow my podcast are kind of crazy. And I say that with love for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they feel like they know you intimately because they hear your voice and they watch the videos and they're really invested. The people that follow the meme page exclusively, they like it and they like me, but they're not as invested because it's just a quick joke and then they're on to the next thing.
Right.
And so it's just a momentary thing for people. It's an interesting medium for sure.
Sure. Speaking of going back to the success of CrossFit and just how it's continuing to explode on multiple continents, is there anything that you see that would kind of supercharge CrossFit's popularity? Do you think they're doing all the right things? Like what is there anything CrossFit could do or change to, I don't know, become something even bigger than it already is, other than expanding it to different countries like you were talking about?
Well, I think they have to continue to expand. They have to do continue to grow the games out, because that will get them national, international coverage.
Yeah.
For one. And the games has to be a better international experience than it has been.
Mm-hmm.
So that would certainly help. And, that's been hard the last couple of years. You can't even get people into the country right now. So
Right.
you haven't been able to. So that's been very, very difficult for them. I said last night on our show, I believe this, and until they prove me wrong, I'm going to believe it. Their communication from the very beginning, not even under this current regime, has been really poor, because they don't recognize what's in front of them. They view this as they've got, we'll just call it 11,000 affiliates or 10,000 affiliates. And they need to, occasionally send out messages to them so they know what's going on. But otherwise, send us your checks and we're going to run our business,
Yeah.
And what they don't recognize is that, different than any other business on the planet, like that works if you're McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or, somebody that's franchising a business, because the people that work in those businesses don't give a rat's ass what you do. They just collect a check and go home at night. They don't think about it when they're at home. CrossFitters think about it when we're at home.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like we work there, even though we don't. And we all have text streams. And so instead of communicating to the affiliates, you need to be communicating to the members, because they're the ones that really hold the power here. And there's a lot of them. And they don't do a good job of communicating to the members what they really are wanting to accomplish and what the future looks like. And I think they need to focus on that. They're not recognizing that me and 4 of my buddies are going to text tonight about tomorrow's workout or whatever dumb thing we saw. And if that dumb thing we saw happened to be them, then all the worse. That's why this whole, Dave thing has been so traumatic for the community, because there's been very little communication on it, and people are texting and using Instagram and whatever to bitch and moan about it.
Yeah. There's only so much damage control you can do too, with how many social platforms there are, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. So you talked a little bit about your charity work. Anything that's going on right now that people should know about on that front?
Well, right now I'm actually leading a campaign. So I normally don't do this, but right now I'm doing a campaign for the adaptive group. So the kind of the backstory is, CrossFit invited, or every year has, adaptive athletes that compete in the CrossFit Open, and they compete all the way out to the CrossFit Games to become fittest on earth. And in CrossFit, an adaptive athlete is someone with an impairment. So you're missing a leg, missing an arm, you're in a wheelchair, blind. Like there's a lot of divisions, eight divisions to be exact.
Okay.
And last year they had 3 divisions at the games. This year they're going to have 3 divisions at the game. So I thought it'd be cool if maybe we could raise some money for the 5 divisions that aren't going to get to compete in Madison, and put together a virtual prize purse for them, and give a prize purse to the top 3 in each of those divisions, just like they had gone to Madison. And I got a bunch of sponsors to pony up some prizes. I'll get, Innovate Shoes is donating, O2, Doc Spartan, Yeti.
Wow.
Several others. I'm feeling bad that I'm kind of whiffing on some names here, but like some really big sponsors are coming forward and being a part of this.
Wow.
And donating a virtual prize purse as well. And so, that's the thing I'm trying to do right now, is to get people to sign up for the Open in the adaptive division, get people to donate to the charitable link so we can raise raise an actual prize purse for these athletes. And, when they're named fittest on earth after quarterfinals or semifinals in the CrossFit Games competition, we'll hand out their prize. And so that's something that I'm personally doing. And then I'm kind of constantly involved in other things. I do a lot of work for the Out Foundation. I do work for Project Onyx, which helps inner city youth, Forging Youth Resilience, which is formerly Steve's Club, which is a similar type organization. They help, mentor youth. I have a couple of veterans groups I work with. I'm just like anyone that is in need that's part of the CrossFit space. I usually try to invest time in, because the truth is like, the platform's nice to have, but if you can't get back, what's the point of having it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't, making jokes is fun and all, but it's a lot of work. And if it's for nothing, I'd like to help some people. And so that's what we try to do. I raised 10 grand last year for these assorted charities. And,
Wow.
I think that's a good start. I'd like to do double that in 2022,
Sure.
if possible. So we'll see.
Nice. I don't know. Do you have any digital marketing background? You keep talking about like all of this. It just
Nope.
like so you're just learning all this on the fly, huh?
No, I have ADD and I drink a lot of coffee. And so that helps. Like that gives me, I'm an idea person. I've always been a creator. I'm a musician. And so I've always been a creator.
Okay.
And
What do you play?
guitar.
Nice.
And yeah, I've just like, it isn't that I necessarily had to figure it out. Like we're not talking about creating rockets. This isn't like building rockets, or doing surgery. This is how do you connect with people? And so I just think of it, well, if these companies know how to connect with me, why can't I connect with others? Like it's all the same.
Yeah.
We're all going to the same places, and so, yeah, I don't have a background in it. I'm just kind of fearless that way. Like this adaptive thing, when I got the idea to do it, I called Innovate. They're the sponsor of one of my podcasts, but I called them like, hey, I'm hitting you up for money. What do you think? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. We'll do it.
Nice.
And then I call O2 and I'm like, hey, what do you think? Would you do it? And Dave, who owns O2, he's like, not only will I do it, I'll give $20 to every person who signs up for the open, which by the way, is like a $40,000 commitment for him. I called Assault Bike. They're like, yep, we're in. We called Yeti. Yep, we're in. RX Smart Gear for jump ropes. Yep, we're in. Like literally every person I talked to said we'd do it. And it's, I think the generosity of people is kind of boundless but you have to be willing to ask and find something that resonates with people. And I mean, come on, who's going to argue about the point of this is that can we get more people that have impairments into fitness?
Yeah.
You have to be a real a-hole to go, no, I don't want people in wheelchairs to get more fit. The only reason you do it if you're scared of people in wheelchairs, you just don't want them to get stronger. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to do it, And for the record, that joke would kill with people with impairments for anyone that gets mad at that joke.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
every time I have I had Kevin Ogar on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he's in a wheelchair and was injured at CrossFit, which is why he's in a wheelchair.
Oh gosh.
And finally I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have to censor you if you keep saying this stuff. Like you keep saying the most horrible things, There's like anyone in this group are like have the rowdiest sense of humor, and that's why I love them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're all the best. Like the whole group is just the best. And so if we can get more people into it, it's a great thing, But
yeah.
So you don't need a marketing degree to do this. You just have to like see a need and try to fill it. And what's the worst that could happen? People tell you no. Okay.
Right. Just move on. Where can people sign up to support that?
Well, so there's a link in my bio. So they can go to Make WODs Great Again on Instagram or Facebook, and my bio is there. And then there's a link for everything I support, including that one. It'll say adapt to the competition is what it's called. Join the community, adapt to the competition is the actual campaign.
Yeah.
And that'll send you to a GoFundMe page where you can donate cash if you want to. If you happen to have an impairment, you're not part of CrossFit, you just go to the CrossFit Open website and sign up and watch my page for future details. And we'll tell you where you can start getting coupons for things and giveaways and that sort of thing.
Awesome.
But yeah, everything can almost always, you can find everything in the link in my bio on Instagram.
Perfect. Yeah, I've seen some folks in wheelchair, and this is on social, but I've seen some folks do amazing things. I think the only limitation there for most is a mental block. Like, I don't think I can do this when you really can.
It's interesting. Like, I'm learning more from them about this. Yeah, I think people worry about the adaptive division because they're worried they're going to say the wrong thing or not understand. Like there are two different types of people in wheelchairs. There's, they say they call them seated, and it's seated with hip function, seated without. So some are in wheelchairs, but they still have hip function. So they're still doing muscle ups and some of the other things. And there are others that are in wheelchairs that can't move at all, and so it changes what their workouts look like and what kind of fitness level that they do, and some have other things going on too, which is why they're in the wheelchair, and then you've got this neuromuscular division that God knows what their impairment might end up being. Like there's 100 different things it could be.
Yep.
But God love them. They're working their asses off. Like it's really impressive that, I have days where I'm 50, I get out of bed, my ankles creak. I'm like, well, I'm not working out today,
Yeah.
and, these men and women are just out there killing it. And, so yeah, it's a cool thing. And it's really cool to learn why they're there, what brought them in, what they have to struggle with to do it. And I'm not using it as some sort of like wheelchair inspiration. Like I kind of hate that actually. Like, oh, you're so inspiring for working out and you've got this issue. It isn't that. It's like they're working through issues. And to me, that's really cool. Like, cause I struggle to some days to work through my ADD or I'm just tired and I don't want to go do it, and so I think it's a great learning lesson for all of us to connect with people in this community and understand what they're doing.
Sure. We've interviewed an amputee on this podcast, and when your leg is filling up with blood as you're running a marathon, it makes your other problems seem kind of small.
Yeah.
So, they're doing some absolutely amazing things. So kudos to you. And also, if anybody's listening, for those who are listening to this, who want to go ahead and support that, go and check John's page out, please. John, I won't take up any more of your time, but I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you for listening. Please give Freedom Cast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.